I wish I could have asked the NRA lady a question. I wish the NRA lady I could have talked to, because I would ask her how she can look in the mirror, considering the fact that she has children, but, maybe she avoids those.
What is that? I'm sorry?
I don't freaking know.
In the wake of the Parkland shootings, the media has not hesitated to use emotion in their coverage of the events, especially with kids. For this video, I'd like to look at how the media uses emotion rather than logic, not to bring you the coverage and the news you rely on, but to push their agenda. CNN has featured many kids that have survived the tragedy and has put their emotional yet illogical arguments front and center. This culminated with CNN's town hall meeting, which was supposed to be an honest discussion about gun control. This is where people that survived the tragedy and their parents got to meet their state leaders and even a spokesperson from the NRA. However, this quickly turned into emotional pandering.
Senator Rubio, can you tell me right now that you will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future?
Now, before going any further, I'd like to stress that the kids are not the ones to blame here. Not only are they coming from an extreme emotional place, as anyone would who has survived a tragedy such as this, but they're inexperienced. They're high school students. I was an idiot in high school. Pretty sure I was an idiot in college too. The average high schooler doesn't know much about the outside world, and these kids have just had their worlds turned inside out. So please, keep that in mind as we look at the emotional arguments and logical fallacies.
So what do you say to the NRA?
Disband, dismantle.
And don't make another organization?
Yeah, don't make another organization under a different name. Don't you dare come back here. The fact that you were in power for so long and that you had so much influence for so long in America just goes to show how much time and effort we still need to spend on fixing our country.
Absolutely.
And gun control is just the first thing right now, the first thing that we are mainly focusing on.
Look, I don't have to tell you guys, they give millions of dollars to politicians. They have a very powerful tool. So, I mean, how do you expect politicians who need money to keep running for office to say no to the NRA?
Because we keep telling them that if they accept this blood money, they're against the children. They're against the people who are dying. And that there's no other way to put it at this point. You're either funding the killers or you are standing with the children.
Well, color me confused. I don't want to stand against children.
If you can't get elected without taking money from child murderers, why are you running?
I didn't know that. Did you know the NRA advocates for school shootings? It's a clear ad hominem attack that just because the NRA supports the Second Amendment and firearm safety, aka having something to do with guns, that they automatically advocate for a school shooting. This is tied in with a strawman fallacy that suggests if someone is in support of the NRA, they are automatically in opposition to children's safety. You can't have it both ways. It's either the NRA or the children. Choose.
You're either funding the killers or you are standing with the children.
However, none of this really makes sense until you understand why the NRA is even involved in the first place. Hint, they shouldn't be. So let's see where these ad hominem and guilt by association attacks come from. I looked up the NRA's policies on child murder. They didn't have any. Judging by their official website, the NRA is a group that supports firearms safety and education, the Second Amendment, family, freedom, and they support youth shooting. Oh. They do hate the children. I'm just kidding. Youth shooting programs to teach people from a young age how to handle firearms responsibly. Guys, relax. Only 3% of their services go to child murder. Wait. Wrong website. In all seriousness, it's clear that the NRA does not harbor the blame in this school shooting. So why were they brought up in the CNN interviews if not to push an agenda to ban guns, specifically of the semi-automatic variety? Despite these interviews, nothing compared to the emotional melting pot that was CNN's town hall meeting. Before moving forward, I'd like to ask a few questions, ones that I often contemplate myself every time I turn on the TV and watch the news. What is the purpose of media? Is it to bring in the news in a timely fashion? Is it to bring you investigative journalism and stories from around the world? Perhaps the weather? Or Is it to push the channel and network's opinion and agenda? Is it to confirm your own bias and tell you exactly what you want to hear?
Why can't we just tell them what they want to hear?
Wait. Say that again?
I said, why do we have to tell the people what they need to hear? Why can't we just tell them what they want to hear?
I've never seen such a biased event to push an agenda that was framed as an open discussion. While there are many angles to approach this event from, let's continue with the ad hominem attacks on the NRA and the spokesperson there, Dana Loesch, as well as CNN's agenda to ban guns. Now, if you had told me prior that CNN would be hosting this event and the majority of the audience would be people from Parkland, I would have only had one thing to say to Dana Loesch.
It's a trap!
As a spokesperson for the NRA, she was brought out and attacked from all angles, questioned by emotional kids and parents, even called a murderer. Scott Israel, the sheriff of Broward County, had a great straw man attack here.
Check for a second, though, and I understand you're standing up for the NRA, and I understand that's what you're supposed to do. But you just told this group of people that you are standing up for them. You're not standing up for them until you say, I want less weapons.
So until Dana Loesch is for less weapons and less guns, she's still standing against children. Not wanting to limit a certain weapon doesn't mean that you're standing against children. It probably just means that she supports gun rights and has a different idea about how to protect people. Another great ad hominem attack was the start of this initial question, where one of the children called out Dana Loesch's qualifications for being a parent because she supports gun rights.
Dana Loesch, I want you to know that we will support your two children in the way that you will not.
No matter what side of the discussion you're on, it's pretty clear that ad hominem attacks like this don't further it, but they do acquire you emotional brownie points. The entire town hall discussion was focused on making the NRA culpable in the shooting, to which most people will react, hey, there's also a shooter that's to blame. Which is exactly what Scott Israel, the sheriff of Broward County, did when Dana Loesch called into question law enforcement's handling of this psychopath.
Now, there are two Florida statutes. One of them, I don't know if the comment that he had put on YouTube would have qualified for you to Baker Act him, but sending messages telling other students that he was going to murder them and he was going to kill them, I would think certainly would qualify under a Florida state statute for you to have Baker Acted him.
Let me respond to that. First of all, we've talked about the Broward Sheriff's Office and some other local agencies and the FBI getting tips and what have you. America, there's one person responsible for this act. That's the detestable, violent killer. He is responsible for this act. Nobody else but him.
Oh, I get it. So the NRA, a group that wasn't even present at the shooting, is to blame. But hey, if we call into question the police that were there and they're failing to do anything in the matter, or their investigations before that, then we can just blame the criminal, right? There were 4 officers on the scene that didn't enter the building while the shooting was taking place. There were 39 calls to this kid's house over the past 2 years, and Broward County still didn't confiscate his gun. The FBI failed to follow protocol in responding to red flags about this individual. But no, the NRA is to blame. The millions of law-abiding citizens with guns, they're to blame. Actually, it's the guns themselves, those darn inanimate objects. Just blame the feather that wrote the Second Amendment. Problem solved. However, before we disband the NRA and hand in our weapons to police that are incapable of using them, just to yield to the media's emotion, consider this. The Sutherland Springs shooting in Texas was stopped by a member of the NRA. How did he do this? With his own weapon, an AR-15, a semi-automatic rifle. A good guy with a gun stopped an evil one. I don't remember the media blaming the NRA for this shooting. Maybe there just wasn't enough emotional appeal to push an agenda. But with the school shooting and children, you'll probably get that every time. It comes as no surprise that the media wants hits over dry yet truthful information, and CNN probably held this discussion so that their ratings would soar, which they did. As for media, I don't necessarily want it to be boring and dry.
Can't you see what the son of a bitch is doing? He didn't have a story, so he made one.
You can't do that.
Tell Ron to speculate who's driving the car.
Ron, speculate on who's driving the car.
We believe the driver may be on drugs. He's probably 6'7", 6'8", but a skinny 6'7", 6'8", about 160. He may have a hostage or two.
But a sense of journalistic integrity is needed. At the very least, it shouldn't be the farthest thing from the truth. In fact, if done properly, it should strive to be pretty damn close.
We're just getting word that police have finally apprehended the suspect. It turns out that he's an elderly gentleman. He's 80 years old, and he was simply confused. I'm Ron Burgundy. Don't just have a great night. Have an American night.
Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think the media is beyond saving? Do you think it's lost all its integrity? Do you think it only pushes agendas using emotion? Or does it actually strive to provide people with the truth? Until next time, thanks for watching.